Man, I done lost $10 already from this dude. $10. I can't stand him. I just stopped betting against him. That's $10.
This is why you don't bet against him.
That's $10.
You should have taken.
That is a chicken finger plate. That's Zaxby's. That is ridiculous. But my man Tom just got to another Super Bowl. Welcome back to Takeover, the most underrated sports debate show on YouTube, and we're back with another one.
As you know, my name is Josh.
My name is Deandra.
My name is Cam, and cue the music.
We play it all in night, yeah. Need it all in advance. The opposition already ready for it. Like a supper we eating, it won't be the last. Grind on the muscle, pull up. Parker right on the grass. We coming in, take over everything, run it up. Nothing holding me back. 3 in the wood, rushing. I don't like Dutch, don't even matter, you know I'm a face. And when I roll a paper, I like to go double. Run up a check, flip a W, make it an M. I need a couple.
Yours truly, the one and only Joshua Julian, as I introduced myself, called on previous episodes of Takeover multiple times.
Correct.
Tom Brady has made it to another Super Bowl. He has now had his 10th Super Bowl appearance. If Terrific Tom can pull this out and gets his 7th ring, is he the greatest athlete of all time?
Well, I think he will be in the conversation. I think he's definitely going to be the most accomplished. I think he will be the greatest at he already is the greatest at his position. But I cannot put him at the greatest athlete of all time simply because there are other players I could put above him. For one, of course, you have Michael Jordan. He's perfect in championships. When it comes to having a regular season MVP and when it comes to having a finals MVP and the finals itself, Tom Brady has only done that once, whereas Michael Jordan has done it 4 times. And I also think about football and basketball being a team sport. And I really don't like comparing football and basketball together, but because it's 2 totally different sports. But Tom Brady has to rely on wide receivers. He has to rely on an offensive line. And then he has to rely on the defense when he goes and sits on the bench. Jordan or other basketball players, period, have to play on the offense and defense on the side of the ball. And I'm also thinking about maybe Serena Williams also because in her sport, she has everything that happens, it's on her. If she wins, it's on her. If she loses, it's on her. And for her to have 23 Grand Slams, she is one of the, if not the greatest tennis ball player of all time in men and between men and women. And I'm also thinking about Muhammad Ali, who played there in a time of political unrest. And also, I think if we're talking about the greatest athletes of all time, you have to talk about athleticism. And I don't even think Tom Brady is the most athletic. I don't even think he's the most athletic at his position, let alone in the league, in the NFL. When I think about that, when I think about athletic people, I think about LT, I think about Lamar Jackson, I think about Deion Sanders, Patrick Mahomes, and the list goes on. And he's known more for his arm strength and his IQ than he is being athletic. And also, I don't think Tom Brady transcends the sport of football. I think he's just there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for example, LeBron James, he goes in his community and he builds a school. You have Michael Jordan, who known alone for Jordans and the Jumpman symbol. I don't think Tom Brady transcends football, and that's why I can't have him overall the greatest athlete of all time.
That was a cute soliloquy you just had, but once again, Deandra, you're wrong again. Because if Tom Brady is able to beat this Kansas City Chiefs team, led by the new generation's best quarterback, led by the new generation's best tight end, best offense, and Tyreek Hill with the speed that's so fast, if Ricky from Boys in the Hood had the speed, he wouldn't have got shot by the bullet. He is far well the greatest athlete who ever lived. Let's go down the list. Is he the greatest quarterback that ever lived? Let's look at it. Since he was drafted, he's been in 48% of the Super Bowls that have been there. He was drafted in the 6th round. He has 6 rings. Over 60 game-winning drives. Has the most passing touchdowns of all time. And what sport is he doing it in? Probably the most physical sport there is. I hear you talk about Michael Jordan. I mean, of course he had to go through the bad boys and time like that, but this isn't as physical as football. Tom Brady was starving in the air when you could hit the quarterback, when you could get hurt over and over again, and he's been doing it ever since. And you're saying he hasn't transcended the game. How disrespectful. Tom Brady is the standard of QB quarterback. That's what you model your quarterback after. It hasn't always been the athletic guy who can run and can do all these other things. Tom Brady has done more with less than anybody in the league. And I think anybody, period. You look at Michael Jordan, he has Scottie Pippen. Not to say that Bill Belichick wasn't a huge part, I feel like, at least a big part of Tom Brady's success. But I see a lot of role players in Jordan's era too, where it helped him. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl down 28-3 with Chris Hogan as his number one receiver.
Well, hold on.
Stop it. He was his number one.
He had Edelman.
Yeah, but he was.
Julian Edelman
I'm talking
number
about
one.
not saying as number one receiver like receiving wise because James White was that game. I'm talking about number one as where he was lined up.
Okay.
Edelman isn't the number one receiver on that team.
Okay.
And I mean, you gotta think about it. He comes back over and over again. He does it in the most physically demanding sports. And what makes him the greatest athlete of all, to me, if he wins this game, is Tom Brady's just a regular guy. Ain't nothing special about Tom Brady. Tom Brady isn't the guy who can lift 400 pounds. Isn't the guy who can run 4.4s. Tom Brady's the average guy. But he didn't do it with all the muscles. He did it up here. He's so mental. He was so mentally ahead of everyone else that no one could stop him. That's what makes Tom Brady the most dangerous guy on the field at all times. He was mentally able to get past every object that was in his way, and without whatever circumstance he was in, he was able to win consistently. So if Tom does win this championship, he'll be ahead of everyone in my book, for sure.
When you talk about the greatest athlete of all time, obviously there are plenty of names that you can name from plenty of different eras and areas of sports. DeAndre obviously named a few: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Serena Williams. Great names. Didn't even touch some of the people from baseball that you could name, and I'm not going to bore you guys. Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Ted Williams, Bob Gibson. I mean, there's so many great people. But when you're looking at Tom Brady playing in this modern era for this long in the most physically demanding sport, if he wins his 7th ring, to me, he's the greatest athlete of all time. You can talk about he doesn't transcend the sport. When I talk about greatest athlete, I focus more often than not on what happens on the field or court or whatever. And Tom Brady, as you said, has made about half the Super Bowls he has been able to make in his career. Not to mention the amount of championship games he's made. And when he left New England, everybody was ready to hate on Tom Brady and call him a system quarterback, and they wanted him to fail. And what has he done? He took a team, they were 11-5, a team that historically and notoriously was god-awful.
79 last year.
That drafted Jameis Winston, number 1 overall, and suffered through years of at best mediocrity with him. Put him right in the Super Bowl with the same supporting cast. No other major additions other than Tom Brady. And now they're going to a Super Bowl? I don't see how I can argue against that, man.
It's got to be. Yeah, do you want to defend yourself?
I only have a comment on something that you said, both of you guys said about the most physical game that's being played.
Yeah.
How often do people actually get to touch Tom Brady?
That's a part of his game. That's
a
part of his game. He's so good. He's so good that he gets out of hand.
When he gets it out,
he gets it out so fast.
Or the referee does.
Oh, nobody can touch quarterbers in general. That's not Tom Brady's exclusive. That's Patrick Mahomes too.
Okay, but you're talking about maybe the last 5 years. Tom Brady was doing that when he got There's videos of Tom Brady getting lit up before. Tom Brady has taken these type of hits over and over and over again. If anything, I'm not gonna say that, but I mean, he's gone through his physical hardship just as well.
The fact of the matter is, Tom Brady, as you said, is a very unathletic human being in terms of his physical speed, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how fast you are, what type of vertical you have. It doesn't matter when you're across the line from 12. It just doesn't matter. And look at the run to get here. He just beat Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers. If he beats Patrick Mahomes, what else is there to prove?
I wouldn't say he went outright and beat them. I just say they gave it away.
It's not he didn't just beat them. But his team beat them.
But Tom Brady had to make plays to win the game.
Tom Brady he gave Tampa that massive first half lead because he threw 3 TDs. Let's not forget he did throw 3 interceptions in Green Bay, but he did also throw 3 touchdowns. So anyway,
all right.
Tom terrific. Switching over to hoops. The most controversial thing to these old guys, one thing my dad loves to say, hey man, y'all all teaming up, calling together. I don't like all that. I liked it when it was tough and everybody was competitive. So I'm going to ask you real quick, Josh. You think super teams are good for the league?
For the league itself?
NBA, by the way.
Yes, and for the NBA. Yeah. So for the league itself, I actually think it is good for the NBA. Because in the end, right, Colin Cowherd said it. It's the one thing I actually agree with Colin Cowherd on.
Oh, Lord.
Super teams drive ratings, right? And in the end, the NBA is a business.
Correct.
When it comes to getting people to watch the NBA Finals, you have the hardcore fans. Us three up here, we're going to watch the Finals no matter who the hell's in it, right? That we're going to be tuned in. But it's the casual guy. It's the guy that only knows LeBron, KD, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Giannis. It's the guy that only knows the top 10 superstars as opposed to every other 40 below them. So when you have a super team, when you have teams like the Heatles or the Big Three Celtics or the Golden State Warriors after they got KD, that gets the casual fans' attention because he goes, oh my goodness, that much talent on one team? I got to witness this form of history. So that drives television ratings. The Shaq and Kobe Lakers used to pull 15 to 20 million viewers per game. The C's versus Lakers series in 08 and 010, they pulled about the same. And the same for the Heatles, the same for the Warriors. The only thing that has ever really beaten that was the 1998 Bulls because everybody kind of knew that was Jordan's last dance. So everybody wanted to tune in and watch greatness. But I also offer an alternative because I'm looking at this from both sides. Is it good for the individual teams? It is not good for the individual teams. Simply because they have to sell out their future just to build a super team that can potentially win them a championship in 2 years. The Brooklyn Nets, to build a super team that they can really only keep together for probably 2 years, sold their next 7 first-round picks just to get James Harden. The Miami Heat under LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James almost never had a first-round pick. And once they leave, you see what happens to their franchises. They are desolated, stripped barren of assets, and they have to sell out for these superstars. And now, even when you try to rebuild through the draft, if you get a superstar in the draft and you cannot put another good star around him, the dude wants out. Just look at Anthony Davis. Look at Paul George. They all forced their way out of their original situation simply because the front office couldn't hit on another superstar and build him up a super team. So in terms of for the league, it drives ratings and makes them money. But in terms of for teams, it makes it to where there is little to no parity because there's only like 3 guys with the superstars necessary to attract other superstars.
So pick a side. Is it yes, they're good, or no?
Like I said,
give me both sides, so I need yes or no.
It depends on where you're looking at it. If you're talking about as a league in general,
if I was to get an answer from you, what would you say?
Are we talking about the league specifically?
Yes.
Then,
yes or no?
Then super teams are good.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so to me, I feel like super teams really get a bad rep, and I don't feel like they're as bad as everyone's making them out to be, because when you look at, people may say that it hinders the competition, right? But I think that sometimes it may fuel other teams to be better and to build so they can acquire certain pieces to beat the super team. Like when you think about Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavs, as far as story goes or narrative goes, right? Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavs, they weren't even supposed to be a team like Miami. Now, I don't think that's a super team, but that's a team that some people would consider a super team. So I'm looking at stuff like that, and I'm also thinking about Bron going against the Warriors, and I'm also thinking about how he came back from, or him and the Cavs came back from a 3-1 lead. And stories like that to me are 10 times better when you're going up against a team that you're not even supposed to be in the conversation with. And I'm also thinking about, many people don't like the way that super teams are formed. Like, they don't like that a player like James Harden can call his agent, or he could talk to Kevin Durant and make it to the Nets. Well, I think many people forget that super teams can be built organically through draft picks and trades as well. And for example, you have the Warriors, how prior to KD, obviously KD being added there was what made them a super team. But obviously, to get to where they were, they had to build and they had to draft. And
just to clarify, you're saying the Golden State Warriors without Kevin Durant were a super team?
No, I was saying Kevin Durant, when they added Kevin Durant, that was when they were a super team. Okay. But obviously they had pieces that they had to get through. Okay. They had to get through the draft, because many people thought the Warriors just came out of nowhere, but actually they were building the whole time.
True.
But also, I think super teams, when you look at the history of super teams, more than oftentimes they fail more than they succeed. And I think that many people think that these super teams are just invincible and that no one can beat them. I don't think that's true, because things happen. You have injury, you have chemistry issues as well. And like, for example, some teams that were supposed to be supposedly super teams, but they didn't pan out the way they were supposed to. The 2014 Brooklyn Nets, they had Williams, Joe Johnson, Brook Lopez, but Brook Lopez ended up having a foot injury. You had Williams with an ankle injury. You had KG was added and Paul Pierce was added, but KG was 36 and Paul Pierce was 37. And then you have KG was traded the next season, and then Paul Pierce left to the Wizards. And then you look at the 2012 Lakers. And also, I just want to make a comment on that I don't think it's fair that a team I don't think that James Harden should be able to go to play with Kevin Durant, or I think it's fair, or Kevin Durant could go to the Warriors, but then CP3 couldn't go and play with Kobe. But anyway, they acquired in the 2012 Lakers, they had Steve Nash and Dwight Howard, but the chemistry between Dwight Howard and Kobe really wasn't there. You have Steve Nash, who came out literally at the beginning of the season and got injured. I believe Dwight Howard was having back injuries, and you have Kobe, who had an injury. He was never the same after that. So all of that to say, I don't believe that super teams are bad because, number one, I don't think they're as serious as the league makes them out to be, and like you said, they make the league money. So
I don't think the two teams you named were super teams personally.
Yeah, I was about to get to
I was just gonna say that I was doing some research, and that was teams that people would say were
the
super
casuals.
teams. Yeah,
because they saw the names, and then when you realize Steve Nash was 38.
That's kind of what I alluded to. Okay, continue.
Just making sure it's out there. Those were not super teams.
If we're going to say a super team, I'm probably going to say those. If a super team comes out, it's maybe 3 transcendent athletes, maybe on one team. That's probably super. To me, the NBA has only had maybe 3 or 4 super teams, or it's just been talent all over the place. But to me, about super teams, I really don't like them in the league because it exterminates a level of elite competition. To me, because I feel like when you have these KD, Kyrie, James Harden teams, the rest of the teams in the East that are fighting to get in those 5th, 6th seeds, they don't have any chance anymore, and it kind of kills all their want and success to try to win those type of games. And it's a reason, you know what I'm saying? It kind of goes back to pickup basketball. It's a reason why we don't let all of the athletes be on one team and all the band kids be on the other team. It's just not fun to watch. It's not something you want to see. And I mean, and to go back to what you said, how they have to take the players away from the other teams. You look at AD, how he was taken away from the Pelicans. You think about it. Honestly, you can say Miami took Braun from Cleveland. These are teams that have gotten beat down across the years. I'm talking about beat Red trying to fight Debo for his bike back and Friday beat. I'm talking about beat down, all right? And it's not, and they get their best player taken away from them, and they have to restart their whole entire process down the dumps. I don't feel like that's the best for a league. I think a cycle is going to end up starting in the league where it's going to be you get those draft picks, they're highly rated. Once they can't go any farther with your team, they're going to be like, I don't care about the competition anymore. I'm going to go join up with my friends, and I'm going to go beat everyone else. And that, to me, kills the competition. It kills the surprises in the league. If all these guys are ganging up together, I mean, what's the point? We shouldn't want to know we shouldn't predict 100% wise who should be in the finals. That whole Warriors dynasty with Kevin Durant, we knew no one could beat them. That wasn't an exciting league to be in. Because at the end of the day, sure, LeBron might have gotten there, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to beat these super teams. Now, I don't think that's good for the league, personally.
In the end, you saw this last year. We didn't really have. It was the first time for a while that we didn't have any a superstar team up.
Yeah.
What were the ratings on those finals?
Okay, but you got due to COVID. That's COVID though too.
Awful.
That's COVID though too. So, they're in a bubble. Is different. It's different that way. You can
argue
that in perspective.
and I think it's a little overblown what they were saying. But at the same time,
and plus they
didn't just lose. They lost half their viewers.
Yeah. You think maybe because of the kneeling as well though?
I don't know about that one. If that was true, then that's a big problem. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's a sign for the casual fan, especially since the Heat were in there, and nobody knows who's on the Heat. Nobody casual knows who's on the Heat. But like I said, it drives money. But as a Hawks fan, I'm terrified that Trae Young is going to demand a trade a year when...
Because you know the cycle, man.
Yep,
you know the cycle.
I've seen it happen to the Pelicans. I saw it happen to the Pacers. And
we are running short on time. So, we have another...
This episode's going to be 25 minutes anyway.
Yeah, it is alright.
Takeover take.
Another takeover take from my guy Koa, a guy from G-Spurn, Georgia State University. Go ahead, tell him what you got to say, Koa.
What's up, Takeover? My name is Koa Ben Israel. I'm a Day One supporter. Thank you for letting me be on the show. And my hot take is that Aaron Rodgers is the most overrated quarterback in NFL history. He's not a bum. He's top 10 for sure. Arguably top 5, though. He's nowhere near my top 3. And to me, just this past weekend, out of all the quarterbacks he needed to win the most for his legacy, him being 1-4 in the NFC Championship game now with him also having the easiest road to the Super Bowl, no question. It's just him only having one ring for how highly we talk about him is just, I just don't see him being in the same sentence as Tom Brady. And people want to mention, oh, well, the Boston sidekick. You had 5 Seattle turnovers. How did you convert on those? You didn't. And you told your defense, get the ball back. Get the ball back. Get a stop. They got you 2 of them. What did you do with them? 2 straight 3-and-outs. People want to blame, well, you know, Matt LaFleur this and Matt LaFleur that should have done this. Oh, that halftime defensive call. What was that? And, why didn't you do? Well, Aaron Rodgers could have ran the ball in arguably for a touchdown on that 3rd and goal. You had a historic red zone offense, and what did you do in the red zone? It's just, when I see the excuses made, well, the organization hasn't. When will the excuses end? Just get the job done. When you're in the situation, when your legacy is on the line, take control of your own destiny and take advantage. You were the favorite. Take over.
Okay. So let's start this off. Is he right? No. Per usual. And here's why. You look at Aaron Rodgers, they haven't done anything to help Aaron Rodgers ever since he got drafted. No offensive weapons. Ever since that Super Bowl, you can barely name a Green Bay receiver other than Jordy Nelson. I mean, you gotta think about it. What has he had to really help him on the other side of the ball? Yeah, he's just transcendent talent, but I mean, if there's nothing around you, it's hard to do things. And I feel like that's what Aaron Rodgers really had suffered from. And you look at the way he's lost. You had Seattle with the onside kick. There's nothing Aaron could do about that one. You look at the Falcons with the broken
in the league.
Yeah, he went against the stacked Falcons. Literally, Jordy Nelson had rim protectors from the Army. Like literally, they were that low. They risked Jordy Nelson's health in that game. Talking about he's had nothing over and over again. But you know who you should be pointing at is maybe a little overrated. Someone we praise a little too much. He's in the NFC South. His name is Drew Brees. Oh. Whoa. Wait a second. Oh. You want to talk about quarterbacks that might be just a steam overrated but are just way too nice and fly under the radar? Why not look at Drew? Hold on, Drew. You said you wanted an offense. We gave you your Alvin Kamara. We gave you your Mike Thomas. You got Sean Payton. You wanted a defense? Sure. We got Cam Jordan. We got Marshawn Lattimore. Got you Marcus Williams. And we got you, DeMario Davis. And you still couldn't win? You let Kirk Cousins beat you in the first round? Even though the Rams had that pass interference, you threw an interception to start off overtime? But we shadow under that. That's who we should really be looking at. But that's a conversation for another day.
It's crazy because I wrote Drew Brees' name down on my sheet talking about he was overrated, and I really expected you to get mad at me. But you're right. If we really want to look at somebody in the historical conversation that gets overrated, it might be Drew Brees for the exact reasons that you, Koa. First of all, thank you for sending another take. We really appreciate that.
Very true.
Everybody else, step your game up. Second of all, I think you rated Aaron Rodgers perfectly. You said he wasn't top 3, but he was top 5. That's where I personally put him. I think number 1, 2 is pretty obvious. Brady and Montana, right?
Correct.
Those are the 2 dominant quarterbacks that did it all the time. Number 3, always a toss-up for me. Personally, I got Dan Marino there simply because he changed the game. And he was the first quarterback to really be the aired-out quarterback. But Aaron Rodgers is right there at 3, and I think he's got the argument for 4 or 5. But to call him overrated right now, to me, reeks of recency bias. Something that sports media, which you need to work on, Koa, since you're getting into it, something the media always does. Just because Aaron Rodgers lost a game where, yes, they only put up 6 points on 3 straight turnovers. They should have done more. But on top of that, who's his number 2 wide receiver? Allen Lazard? Undrafted? His tight end, Jared Cook was good. But outside of Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, and 1 good season of Greg Jennings and a mediocre season from Randall Cobb, he's never had anything other than a number 1 receiver. He's always had a good number 1 receiver. He's never had a good number 2. Never had something that Drew Brees had. Because Drew Brees has always had good receivers. So, to me, calling Aaron Rodgers overrated just reeks of recency bias. Because he also has the 2 highest rated quarterback seasons of all time, and there's a 9-year gap in between them.
So my only thing would be, how would he be overrated if you put him in your top 5 of all time? That would just be my question. But
I think he's arguing that other people. I think he's trying to say that other people put him at number 1, but I've never met a person to ever put Aaron Rodgers at number 1.
He's never been top 3,
let alone number 2
or 3.
I thought he had an argument for 3, but after this loss, I think it drops him down to where Koa has him. But I'm just saying, to call him overrated, I think you had him perfectly rated. I don't know anybody else that's put him anywhere near that. So, but hey, I appreciate the take.
Keep sending in those takes. You see it got a little hot today. It's going to get hot when you send your takes too. So
Cam was in a mood today. I don't know, man.
Takes. Send your takes.
Hey, champ. Yeah. We play it all in night. Yeah. Need it all in advance. The opposition know we're ready for it. Like a supper we eating, it won't be the last. Grind all the muscle, pull up. Parker right on the grass. We coming in, take over everything, run it up. Not that holding me back. 3 in the wood. Rushing. I don't like Dutch, don't even matter, you know I'm a face. And when I roll a paper, I like to go double. Run up a check, flip a W, make it an M. I need